Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video, wherever you are, whatever you may be doing. Thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd Family part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. I wanted to come back on here and do another college football video since now we have the official 12-team playoff field, and not only the 12-team playoff field, but the actual seeding. Last night was a lot of rumors as to who gets what spot because there was a chance that Clemson could be anywhere from the 4 seed down to the 12 seed. So now we officially know the 12 teams and who will play who in the first round. But I wanted to make a couple of more quick thoughts about Clemson. Anybody that follows the channel knows that even though I'm a Clemson fan, I don't come on here daily, even weekly or monthly, and spend 5-10 minutes talking about Clemson. I just don't do that. I try to make it a fair channel, fair for everybody, and not just talk about my team all the time. But sometimes when things are going good, you have to talk about the good things and not just talk about the good things when things are going bad, because then people think, oh, you're just trying to pump sunshine to make us feel better. But when you talk about it when things are going good, people actually will listen and understand better. But first, I want to say that my prediction is whenever Clemson season ends, whether it's the first round playoff game or the national championship, whenever their season ends, I believe they're going to lose their offensive coordinator and their defensive coordinator. I think the offensive coordinator will leave on his own terms. I don't know the actual reason as to what's going on behind the scenes, but just watching Garrett Riley on the sidelines, he just looks like he's absolutely miserable. I don't know if he doesn't like the South or him and Dabo don't mesh or what exactly the reason is, but he just looks miserable. So I think Garrett Riley will leave on his own terms when the season ends, and I think the defensive coordinator, Wes Goodwin, will get fired when the season ends. And I've thought that since probably about mid-October, because ever since about mid-October, just about every single press conference Dabo has done, he has made some kind of reference to things the defense is doing that's not good. And Dabo typically doesn't really say a whole lot negative towards players or coaches in press conferences. So since Dabo's done that quite a few times in the past about 2 months, it makes me think whenever the season's over, Wes Goodwin is gone. Hey there, Jordan. Please shout out Trinidad. So hello, Trinidad, and hey there, Gito. Glad to have y'all here on this Sunday night. Please give the video a like, a thumbs up. If you have not yet subscribed, please do so. Helps the channel out tremendously. It takes about 2 seconds, and it's free. Hey there. I'm assuming that's Dondre. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Glad to have you here as well. But Clemson last night was another fine example of what's happened to the program, and I think it just shows that Dabo has finally let his coordinators actually coach, because people have said for years that even though Dabo had a coordinator, especially on offense, that Dabo was really calling plays. But if you're a longtime football fan, you know that back when Clemson had that run offs and winning 2, playing for 4. Hey there, Gito. Glad to have you here. And even if you're not into sports, that's fine, because I do top 10 countdowns. And a lot of times my top 10 countdowns are nothing to do with sports. They might be about movies, music, vacation spot, cars, holidays, candy. You just never know. So there's something for everybody here on this channel, even if you're not a sports fan. But just turn us on every once in a while and let us play in the background while you're doing some chores or playing video games or talking on the phone, whatever, and it helps the channel out tremendously. But back in those days when Clemson was a top 5 team every year winning those titles, there was a lot of people that complained saying that Dabo ran the score up. Me personally, I don't think there's no such thing as running the score up. To me, if you have your ninth string on the field, the defense knows you're trying to score. They go out there, they tackle you. You're not going to tell your fifth string running back, well, go out there and get the ball and fall down. He's going to get the ball, he's going to run. It's the defense's job to stop him. People always said he ran the score up. Well, now all of a sudden, Clemson gets leads, and their offense just gets lackadaisical, lazy, sorry, and conservative. And it cost them against South Carolina because they had the lead for the longest time and had multiple chances to put the game away and didn't do it. Even caused some turnovers and did nothing on offense. And it almost cost them against Pittsburgh. But luckily, Pittsburgh left too much time on the clock. And Clemson got the ball back, and Cade Klubnik went down the field and scored in about 45 seconds. And then last night, it's hard to believe, but at halftime, they were up 24-7. And I was saying to myself, you're going to lose this game because they're going to let this team come back into it just like Pittsburgh and just like South Carolina. And they did. Aiden Swanson punted 7 times last night. Hey there, Toxic. Glad to have you here. And only 2 of those punts came in the first half. That means in the second half, up until that game-winning drive, which was one play, Clemson had 6 possessions, 1 touchdown, and 5 punts. That is absolutely pitiful. You have to do something on offense besides run 3 plays and punt, run 3 plays and punt. And every time they get a big lead, their offense just gets conservative. And it's almost like Garrett Riley's mindset is, well, we had the lead now. We done our job. We scored. I'm not going to go out there and be aggressive and turn the ball over and give them some cheap touchdowns. So we're just going to get conservative. And then every time they get a big lead like that, Wes Goodwin always plays prevent defense. And to me, the prevent defense is the dumbest thing ever because any time I've ever seen a team run a prevent defense, the other team scores. Every time. That last drive SMU had, they could have had a 1,000-yard field and they'd have still scored because they were getting 10, 12 yards every time because Clemson went deep to avoid the deep shots and left the middle of the field wide open the whole entire drive. They could have scored on a 1,000-play drive, a 1,000-yard drive in about 4 minutes because we left the middle of the field wide open. Anytime we get a lead, we do that. Clemson's almost better now playing from behind when they actually have to play offense because if they get ahead, they're going to get conservative on offense and they're going to play prevent on defense. And Toxic, since you commented about Georgia versus Texas, I'm going to assume you must be a fan of one of those teams. But Clemson last night won the turnover battle, and it used to be anytime they won the turnover battle, you could pretty much cash it in that it was going to be a win. Well, now it's not. Now they can win the turnover battle and still not win because they're so conservative. So you are a Georgia fan. Well, glad to have you here, Toxic, as a Georgia fan, no matter who you pull for on this channel. I don't show favoritism towards any team, and this channel is not geared toward any team or any sport. I talk college football, NFL, NBA, college basketball, Major League Baseball, NASCAR, wrestling, and I'm fair about everybody. I'm a Clemson fan, but I probably said at least 5 times this past week, SMU's going to beat us. SMU's going to beat us. And as a Clemson fan, he's going to win. And that's the way I felt because we've been so bad on offense this year. And the only thing that's and a 15-yard penalty on a personal foul by SMU, and Clemson scored 14 points and only had NBA, NFL fan. You'll like it here because I do talk NBA and NFL all the time. I don't really talk where I reference the NBA and the NFL. But right now, I try to mainly focus on college football because it is college football playoff time, whereas the NBA, NFL are in the regular season. Plus, I feel like most of our viewers right now, subscribers, are college football fans. And I feel like until the channel grows to where I hopefully hope it grows to, I'm not going to come on here and talk NBA and only get 30 or 40 views when I can talk college football and get over 100. But hopefully one day the channel's big enough where I can talk any sport and have thousands and thousands of comments and views. That's definitely what I am shooting for. But last night SMU had 2 turnovers, and Clemson had none. And also Clemson had 0 penalties. And that's something you hardly ever see. Now, they had one in the fourth quarter when SMU kicked the field goal and they made it. But it was, I think, 4th and 10. And it was a 5-yard penalty for running into the kicker. So it still makes it 4th and medium, and you're kicking the field goal all over again. So SMU decided to decline that penalty. Otherwise, they'd have had that one for 5 yards, but you don't hardly ever see a whole entire game go by where a team gets no penalties. But if you're Clemson and you have no penalties and you win the turnover battle, you should win that game easily. And they're so conservative right now, they still struggled. You've got to give props to Adam Randall because he's basically become our third string wide receiver and our third string kick returner. But because of injuries, he went out last night with 16 seconds to go after SMU tied the game, got that kickoff, and ran it back, I think, about 35 yards, and it set up Cade Klubnik to Antonio Williams for about 20 yards, which set up that 56-yard game-winning field goal. And when it come time for that field goal, I told myself, he better make this because our offense right now is so bad that if he misses this kick and it goes to overtime, Clemson's going to get beat. And I firmly believe they would have. It's hard to have a whole entire half of doing next to nothing on offense, and then all of a sudden come overtime, all of a sudden you get going again. No, once you quit, it's hard to all of a sudden get back in rhythm. So I was convinced if that game goes to overtime, SMU was going to win that game. But me and my friend Michael were talking at church today, and I was telling him that, I'm glad that I'm a Clemson fan and have been for almost 30 years and didn't become one after Dabo got there and they started winning. I've been a Clemson fan since 96, so I was a fan in 98 when they had 3 wins and 8 losses. So it feels good to this day and time when college football is full of corruption and every single team is trying to cheat some way, somehow, that I pull for a team when the coach that I know is going to be honest and do things the right way. And people are always down in Dabo Swinney saying he's dumb for not changing this and changing that. And I get he's hard-headed, but if what you're doing is working and what you're doing is winning, why would you change? You change if you're not winning. You don't change when you are winning. You look dumb when you're winning and being successful, and you go out and change it. So the best thing to do is, while it's working, just like calling plays on offense. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. If what you're doing ain't broke, don't fix it. Don't change it. And people say that Dabo refuses to use the portal. That's not true. He tries. He doesn't do it like other teams do. But the problem is Dabo will only go out for the portal for one kind of player. And if you're not that kind of player, he doesn't want you. But the problem is, if you look around the university, outside of the generational talents like Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence, who despite the fact that they suck in the NFL, they were generational talents at the collegiate level. And outside of players like that, 99% of the time when Clemson gets players, no matter where they play, how much they play, how good they are, almost every one of them stay through their senior year. It's very rare that a Clemson player comes out early. They always stay through their senior year because they enjoy playing for Dabo. And not only that, a lot of teams every year when the portal opens, they'll have 35, 40 players that transfer. Clemson will have 3 or 4. So when you only have 3 or 4 players leave and all your juniors come back to be seniors, by the time they come back and you recruit your high school players, you don't have a lot of space on your roster to go out and try to get 25 players in the portal. You have no room. So Dabo can't go out and try to, get 20 players in the portal. He does use the portal, tries, but the players he tries to get say no. And I guarantee when this season's over, he'll try it again. And Toxic, I appreciate you saying I am famous. I appreciate that. But Dabo has always said that unlike other coaches and other programs, he doesn't sacrifice the player's future and the university's future for the betterment of that team. He believes it should be university first, the player's long-term mindset second, and winning third. And he believes if you focus on the university first and the player second, that winning will come. And so far, he's been right. He says, I don't want somebody that I'm going to win with and then they leave and never want to see me again. Or I don't want somebody that's going to win and then leave and then 10 years from now they see me and they hide. I want to help these players out. So if they come back 10 years from now, they run up to me, shake my hand, give me a hug, and say, I love you, Coach. You helped me out. That's what I want to do. I have to look at myself in the mirror. And I can't look at myself in the mirror and say, well, I won a national title. Yeah, winning feels good, but these players can't play forever. So I want them to know what they're going to do after their playing days. I don't care that they won here. Yeah, winning's good, but you can't be successful in your life in your 30s and 40s just because you won a championship. You have to have long-term goals. You have to have your future set, and that's more important to me than winning. And as long as I put these players and this university first and second, the winning will come. And he's been right. So when you live by that philosophy and it's working, you're not going to change it. And you have tons and tons and tons of players that have left Clemson since Dabo's been there, whether they graduated or whatever, and not one has ever come back and said anything bad about Dabo. So apparently what he's doing must be working. So if I'm Dabo and what I'm doing is working and I'm winning with it, I'm not going to change a dadgum thing. And he's not. But I do think that after the season, we'll have a brand new offensive coordinator and a brand new defensive coordinator. Now, there's been a few players. That's my Clemson diatribe for the night. Now we're on to just college football in general. There are some players that have already came out and said they're transferring from their school. But, of course, tomorrow is when the transfer portal actually opens. So I'm sure there are a ton of players who are actually going to transfer that we won't get the official word till tomorrow. So if you're a college football fan, tomorrow is your day, because probably from sun up to sundown tomorrow, all day long, you're going to be getting alerts on your phone about this player transferring, this player transferring, because tomorrow is the day the portal actually opens. So it's going to be hot and heavy all day long as far as the portal goes. And I made this comment a couple of weeks back, but I'll say it again in case you missed that video. I hate the whole entire transfer portal thing because it's made college football too political. So I hate that side of it. When you watch a game on TV now, if you have the volume turned up, the announcers spend more time talking about NIL and transfer portal than they do the actual game, and I hate that. I wish they would focus on the actual game. So it's made it political from that standpoint, but it's made the on-the-field product better, because most of these players now, they're not going to a school because they grew up pulling for that school where they like that coach. That's a bunch of nonsense now. Most of these players now are going to the school that's going to give them the most money. And there ain't no school that can afford to pay 100 players $100,000. So what's happening now is you got all these five-star players and you're getting 4 or 5 that go to Oregon, 4 or 5 go to Tennessee, 4 or 5 go to Boise State, 4 or 5 go to Georgia because they want money and they're going to go to that program that gives them the most money. So now instead of these blue blood schools getting all the talent, it's being spread out. So it's made the game more competitive on the field. And I think until this whole portal thing changes, the kind of season we had this year is going to be the kind of season we're going to see going forward from here on out until this portal changes, because now players are going to the school that gives them the most money. They don't give a darn where you're located, who your coach is, what you done last year. None of that doesn't mean diddly squat. If you can pay them what they want, they'll come. If not, they're not. And that's just a fact. I don't like it, but you have to adapt and realize whether you like it or not, those are the times we live in now. And I said before this whole thing started, it's a bad idea, and I still believe it's a bad idea. But it's here. Nothing we can do about it. But the 12-team playoff bracket looks like this. And then I'll tell you who plays who in the first round. But the top 4 seeds that get a first round bye are Oregon, who's the number 1 overall seed because they're the only undefeated team, Georgia, Boise State, and Arizona State. And then we have Texas at 5, Penn State 6, Notre Dame 7, Ohio State 8, Tennessee 9, Indiana 10, SMU 11, and then Clemson got the 12 seed. And Toxic, back in August before the season started, I actually said that I thought the 2 best teams in the country, talent-wise, were Ohio State and Georgia. And I still feel that way. Now, there's some years that the most talented team doesn't win the national championship. So I wasn't necessarily saying that I thought one of those 2 teams were going to win it all. I was just saying if the talent wins out, the 2 best teams to me are Ohio State and Georgia. I think the starting 22 on both sides of the ball, 11 offense, 11 on defense, Ohio State has the best lineup in the country. It's not close. But I think 1 through 105, it's counting everybody on the roster, it's Georgia. So Ohio State has the best starting lineup in America, but Georgia has the best overall talent in America, 1 through 105. So if I had to predict a national champion, I would pick one of those 2 teams. That's just strictly based on talent and talent alone, but talent doesn't always win it. But I do think they're the 2 best teams talent-wise. But in the first round, now, I'll talk more about the games when they get here, but they're 2 weeks away. So I don't want to talk about it now and you get confused by it. But there'll be 4 games in the first round because the top 4 teams don't play. There'll be 1 game on Friday night, which is the 20th. And then there'll be 3 games that Saturday, the 21st. 1 at noon, 1 at 4 Eastern, and 1 at 8 Eastern. So if you want to watch all 3, you can, because barring overtime, they've got them spread out evenly where when 1 game ends, the next one comes on. But most of the games are going to be on the same channel, so there's a chance that if you want to watch one of the later games, if the early game goes late, then a game that starts at 4 may get pushed back till 4:30 or somewhere along in there. And Raj, I appreciate your question, but if you are new to the channel, you may not know this, but anybody that follows the channel knows that I don't talk about color. Color don't bother me at all. As far as I'm concerned, color from anybody should never be mentioned on anybody's channel ever again because color should not matter. But on to some more football. The 5 seed Texas will play the 12 seed Clemson. The 6 seed Penn State will play the 11 seed SMU, which means, of course, that the 7 seed Notre Dame will play the 10 seed Indiana, and then 8 and 9 will play each other, which is Ohio State and Tennessee. Those two teams could have flip flopped. It really wouldn't matter. The only difference is the higher seed host the home game, but either way, the first round is going to be Ohio State and Tennessee, whether it's Buckeyes 8, Vols 9, or Vols 8, Buckeyes 9. So those two teams are neck and neck. And we'll talk more about it, as I said, as it gets closer. It's still 2 weeks away because this Saturday is the Army-Navy game. They always play the second Saturday in December every year. It's the only game on that day, so that game gets precedent and it gets a whole day off to itself because of what Army and Navy do for our country. So this Saturday we'll get Army and Navy. Toxic, I am feeling fantastic, man. If you're new to the channel, hopefully you have subscribed. But if you're new here, you may not know this, but in my world, every day is a good day. There are bad moments in a day, but bad moments don't make bad days. We choose to let bad moments make bad days because one thing don't go our way, we get mad about it, and from that point forward, the rest of the day, everything somebody does makes us mad. And if you have subscribed, I really appreciate that. Tell your friends, tell your family. I know a lot of people that live in and around the Athens, Atlanta area. So maybe one day we'll come in contact with each other. At one time, I was going through there a lot because I used to be a professional wrestling referee, which I still am, but I no longer go to Monroe. But at one time, I was going to Monroe every other Saturday to referee for professional wrestling. So I was going through Athens every other Saturday for a long time. And my grandparents worked in the city of Athens for probably close to 40 years. So I know a lot of people in and around that area. So maybe one day we'll come in contact. If so, feel free to walk up to me and speak to me. I'm not one of these people that acts all friendly on YouTube and then in person. I'm totally different. I'm the same way in person as I am on here. I'm the same good-looking, awesome guy in person as I am on YouTube. So if you ever see me out and about, feel free to walk up to me and talk to me. You can also find me on Facebook. You can just type up my name up on Facebook. You can find me pretty easy. I'm easy to find. Brandon Todd is not a very common name, so type me up on Facebook, find me, and you can chat with me on Facebook as well. I'm a very busy man, but any free time I get, I'm more than happy to talk with people. I really enjoy talking to new subscribers and new viewers to the channel, and I enjoy meeting new people. So if you ever see me, feel free to walk up to me and talk to me. And MMA at Joey, glad to have you here. You came in just in time. We are just about done with the video, so we came on here just in time. And I guess that's JSJD. Glad to have you here. And Toxic on Facebook, I think I said it, but if not, I'll say it again. Just type up Brandon Todd, and that's a very basic, very simple name, and it's not a very common name, so I should pop right up. You should find me without any kind of problems at all. Any early thoughts on the 12-team playoff? Please feel free to let me know, and I apologize for last night. I tried to say all the things I said about Clemson in this video last night, but for whatever reason last night, YouTube kept cutting me off. I don't know what I did or what I said, so last night was really 3 videos in one. So if you only watched one, go back and watch the other 2. Otherwise, you wonder, well, that was a weird way to start a conversation. Well, it was 3 videos in one, and YouTube kept cutting me off, and I don't know why. So I thought, okay, well, I'll try again. Okay, well, I'll try again. And third time, I was actually able to finish, and I was scared to throw in all the Clemson stuff last night because I was scared if I do it, they might cut me off again. But normally, I don't come on here and spend 10 minutes talking about Clemson because I don't want to give anybody the idea that this is a Clemson channel, because it's not. I'm a Clemson fan, but I don't think in my 3 years here on YouTube, I think I've done one video where the whole entire video was about Clemson, and that's it. And then tonight, I probably spent 10 minutes on Clemson, and that's about what I do. I do a lot of videos where I don't even talk about Clemson at all unless somebody asks me about them. But let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. I want to make animation films in the hope that the dream works. And that does it for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.